Hey everyone, welcome back to another unboxing video, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Obi-Wan Kenobi figure from the Obi-Wan Disney Plus series, as well as the Hiya Toys Rodan figure from Godzilla King of the Monsters, and the very recent Hammond Collection Velociraptor from Jurassic Park 3. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at these figures, and we'll be right back. So here's the Obi-Wan Kenobi figure, and this is actually my first ever like Star Wars figure. I mean, specifically from like the Hasbro The Black series, I think it's called. But I mean, I've kind of been eyeing this figure for a while. I don't collect Star Wars figures, which is why I wasn't really thinking about getting it. But I mean, after kind of looking at it a few times, it kind of did pique my interest. I at least wanted to check it out. But yeah, and it's a pretty cool little action figure. I actually kind of dig this. My only real issue really is maybe the cloth cape. Not so much that it's a cloth cape, but just more so of how it kind of, fits on the figure. But overall, I mean, it's a pretty solid, it's a really well made figure. I think all the joints and all that and the paint apps and everything look pretty solid on it. I think the face has a really decent likeness to Ewan McGregor, and so overall, I really think it's a solid figure. And taking a look at the accessories, here he comes with the lightsaber, the gun, and the little cloak. And I actually forgot to show it, but he does come with the little flying robot disc thing from the series. I forgot what it was called, but it was the little Princess Leia's little droid thing. But he also comes with that. And with the articulation, I mean, it's, as you can see, it's actually a pretty standard sort of modern day system. He has the ball joints. I actually like the way the head works. It has two joints, one for the head, one for the neck. It actually gives him more range of motion. But then like the arms and elbows and hands are actually all on swivel and hinge joints, allowing for a decent range of articulation. The body's on a ball joint, and then the legs, knees and feet are all on swivel and hinge joints, allowing for, again, another decent amount of range of articulation. So you can get this guy in some alright poses. And yeah, I mean, it's like I said, I mean, it's pretty standard articulation, but even so, I mean, if you want to get him some good poses, I mean, he can pose good. And something I wanted to kind of point out is just sort of the cloak itself. I mean, like I said earlier, the cloak, it being kind of a cloth cape isn't what bothers me. What bothers me is that it doesn't really hold a very good shape. Like, the hood itself is just very poof. Like, it's just too poofy. Like, you can see, I try to, like, kind of form it around his head, kind of like in the movies and all that, like how he kind of, it drapes over his head and it makes that really cool kind of mysterious cloaked figure look. But you can't really get that. I mean, it's just, it just kind of pops open and it just looks like there's a balloon in there, So in my opinion, not the best cloth cape or cloak or whatever, but even so, if you can kind of, how do you say, like, get the cloth to kind of form around the figure. If you hold it down in a certain shape long enough, it can actually hold the pose for a little bit, and then it looks actually pretty decent. And now take a look at some poses. Looking at some size comparisons, here he is with the Hasbro Spider-Man from No Way Home, the Hasbro Iron Man from Endgame, the McFarlane the Superman from Zack Snyder's Justice League, the Jazzwares Spartan Collection Master Chief from Halo 4, and Hiya's Godzilla from Godzilla vs. Kong. So overall, I gotta say, for my first kind of Hasbro Star Wars figure, I think I really enjoyed this. I really like the character of Obi-Wan, so having a figure of him is pretty cool. And I do think I'm gonna maybe try to collect a couple other Star Wars figures. Maybe not rack up too much of a collection, but at least just enough, just to have some of the characters I like. But that's about it for this figure. Let's go ahead and look at the next. And here we're going to be taking a look at the Hiya Toys Rodan. Now, normally I'd like to save my most anticipated figures for last, but the Velociraptor came in much later, so this is, kind of coming in here. But yeah, no, overall, I think my first impressions are this. I mean, it's definitely a huge step up from the Kong. The Kong was just a bit of a disappointment, especially with the articulation that it left a lot for me to be desired. But I think this one really picks up where that left off and just like makes something much better. The articulation is much better. The sculpting's pretty good. I mean, that if there's one thing I got to say about Hiya all boards, that the sculpting's consistent and it's pretty good. But yeah, and just the proportions and the size accuracy to everything else, it's a really solid figure, and I really like kind of just messing with these. And the biggest advantage that this has over any other Rodan figure are the wings. The wings are just like amazing to just play around with. I also really just like how accurate this figure is to the 2019 Rodan. It's not perfect, but I mean it's practically there. I just really like it. And he does come with a stand, although not as cool looking as the NECA Rodans. It gets the job done. It is pretty cool. You can stand him up really tall, make him look like he's flying really high over like Godzilla or something like that. And it does have the joints for articulation, although mine's was really resistant, and I think the one of the lower ones actually broke off for me, so it's not perfect, but it still works. And again, the articulation is really good. I mean, it still it has the hinge opening mouth, and it has the ball jointed neck, and it can actually get him to look very far around. But the highlights are, and obviously it has a ball joint on the wings, but the highlights for the wings are really just the wire joint that's inside the arms. Because this is made out of a soft rubber, you can actually get them to fold in quite a few directions. I mean, it's just a really cool gimmick. Now, obviously, here he has ball joints on the waist and tail, and then hinge joints for the legs. But yeah, I mean, just look at that. Just look at the wire, the rubber side that you could just get him to move. It's really cool, and I like it a lot. And now I'd like to show off a couple poses I was able to get him in. And for some size comparisons, here he is with the NECA Rodan, kind of looking like the original Rodan movie here. The NECA Mothra from Godzilla King of the Monsters, and I can't wait for Hiya Toys' version. Speaking of which, here's Hiya Godzilla and Hiya Kong from Godzilla vs. Kong. And that about does it for the Hiya Rodan. Now, I gotta say, my overall thoughts are that, like I said, I really like it. I think the wings are probably the best part about it. Just incorporating that wire, what usually would be a wire tail, into the wings was a perfect idea. And yeah, I mean, just great sculpting, good articulation, great articulation, and yeah, just overall a solid figure. I mean, I can't wait to see their Mothra. I've already seen some previews, and I'm a little disappointed it doesn't have the wire in the wings as well. But from what I could tell, the wings aren't as like hard plastic as like the NECA or the SH Monstars, so it doesn't look like it'll break as easily, hopefully. But yeah, just overall a great figure. I can't wait for the next one. And here we have the Jurassic Park 3 Velociraptor from the Hammond Collection line. Now, some people like to call this version the Quilliam Raptor. I'll just call it the Raptor. But it's I gotta say, I know a lot of people were very disappointed with this figure. At least like when they first saw like reveal photos of it. I know it was like, there was a lot of controversy over, like the head, like it not being 100% accurate. The quills kind of being just a solid piece of plastic. And then obviously the feet. Are just overly big. A lot of people are complaining about that with this Hammond Collection line, is that they make the feet too big. I will say, for me personally, I don't know how anyone else feels, but for me personally, just like the first Raptor, the promotional pictures did not do this figure any justice. It did look a little off, especially in the head. But I gotta say, in person, I actually think it's a lot better. In fact, I actually think the way they did certain details of the head, like the teeth, are actually much better on this than the original version. And just the sculpting and painting. Again, the painting could be better. I think the cool thing about the Jurassic Park 3 Raptor is that it's very colorful. I mean, it's still gray, but the different shades of gray, brown, red, and then it's not quite as present on this figure as it is in the actual design, but it's still there. And just overall, I think this is a much better figure than people are giving credit to. And I just want to quickly focus on the head right now. The head was one of the biggest issues for some people. And I gotta say, I do understand why. I mean, obviously, there's like, other like replacement heads that people have made, that are, that other people are using to replace this. But to be honest, I don't really think it bothers me that much. And I think what really helps this figure for me is the fact that if you look at the teeth, compared to the original Jurassic Park 1 Velociraptor, they don't stick out as much on the bottom jaw as they do for this new Jurassic Park 3 Raptor. I think it just looks so much better. And even though it does still have that kind of kid toy looking, look to it, doesn't look 100% accurate, I still think, like, for me, it's better designed and better sculpted that it doesn't bother me really at all. When I had this in hand, I'm like, oh wow, this is actually a lot better than I was thinking it was going to be. So I don't know, for me personally, I don't have an issue with this. I actually like this figure a lot more than I thought I was. And I don't know, I don't think, I think it's getting a little more hate than it deserves. But that's just me personally. But just moving on. So I will say the articulation, I don't really have much to say on this. It's your standard Hammond Collection Velociraptor articulation. I mean, there was only one before, but it's pretty much almost identical. The one thing I will say is that the neck is actually different. Instead of being on a ball joint, it's actually on a hinge swivel. Personally, I would have preferred the ball joint just if they allowed a little more access so that you could get like a little more range of motion. But I will say the hinge for the neck and the head, it allows it to look up very high and look down very low, and it really works a lot better on this one as far as like looking up and down. But for the side to side, it's almost kind of non-existent. But with that being said, pretty much everything else is identical. Just like a few ball joints here and there, mostly hinge and swivels, and then the wire and the tail. And so that's about it, just kind of moving on. And now to check out some poses I got this guy in. And for some size comparisons, here we have the JP3 Velociraptor with the JP1 Velociraptor from the Hammond Collection line. The Jurassic Park Dilophosaurus from the Hammond Collection. Hammond Collection Gallimimus. And a little Jurassic Park Velociraptor that I made in my own free time. Hopefully coming in a video pretty soon. That'll explain why it looks so gumpy looking. But yeah. And so yeah, final thoughts on the figure is that it's actually really, in my opinion, it's a solid figure. It's not perfect, obviously. It could have been better in some aspects, but just like the Jurassic Park 1 Velociraptor, I think a lot of people really kind of overly hated this thing, even before it came out. I think it's actually a lot better in hand, and I think that if you're interested in checking it out, definitely pick it up. It's already hit Target. It's finally hit the shelves. So yeah, pick this up if you're interested. All right, thank y'all for watching, and I do want to apologize because I know this is supposed to be an April unboxing, but this has been released in May. Just with life being a little busier now, it's kind of hard to like find time to work on these videos, like to edit them down and everything like that. But definitely stay tuned. I mean, I got some interesting videos coming out, some really cool projects I've been working on. So I mean, just keep an eye out, and like I said, thank you for watching the video. Like I was saying, I think these figures, they're all really cool, and I think definitely if you're able to pick them up. I know the Rodan, the Hiya one, I think is sold out, and I think now it's kind of hard to get it, but if you find a way, I mean, definitely grab them. And yeah, I mean, that about does it. Appreciate y'all for watching the video. If you want to check out my Instagram page, Giovanni Arts and Collectibles, that's where I just post pictures of like my hobbies and everything like that. So definitely keep track with that. That's, pretty cool place to check out. And yeah, have a great day.